What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Between the Numbers Sports Podcast and Show. I'm your host, Daryl, and I never thought I'll see the day that Nick Saban will retire, right? Nick Saban is indeed retiring before Lee Carso. Make that make sense. But yes, the greatest college football coach of all times is retiring, right? It was announced today. Uh, it was announced maybe about an hour ago that he was retiring. I saw it per ESPN's Chris Lowe, right? It said that Nick Saban had told his team that that he was retiring, right? And so it's the end of a dynamic run, the greatest of all times in college football, right? Um, for Alabama and Nick Saban, right? So, he has 7 championships, 6 with Alabama, 1 with LSU, and people would argue that Nick Saban, put LSU and Alabama back on the map, right? One of the few coaches to win uh championship at 2 different teams. And you know, this is a gift and a curse for LSU and Brian Kelly, right? Because it's a gift because LSU is in the SEC West. Alabama's in the SEC West. Every year it seems like LSU is held down by Alabama, right? If you think about some of LSU's, that's okay. Let's break it down to LSU's last few uh championships, right? 2012, they faced Nick Saban. Before that, in what was dubbed the game of the century, right? They had all of those great players on that LSU team, all of those great players on that Alabama team. LSU won 9-6. We end up facing Alabama and Nick Saban in the national championship a few months later. Alabama dominates LSU 21-0. We don't even get past the 50-yard line. That was the game where the Honey Badger said that he memorized all of the players on offense's mom's names and was talking crap, and we got our ass smacked, right? And then you had games in between that. And then you have to think about, right, 2019, where LSU won a national championship, but we played Alabama at Alabama, and that was a really good game. LSU jumped out on Alabama really fast, and then Alabama was able to work themselves back into the game. But what was the reasoning why Alabama wasn't? I think LSU was a great team, but that year Tua was hurt, right? Tua was not 100%. Things possibly would have been different if Tua was 100%, right? And then you have to think, right? LSU beats Alabama in 2022 under Brian Kelly in Brian Kelly's first season, right? And again, Alabama didn't have some of the dogs that it or we was used to them having, right? They still had Bryce Young um, and Will Anderson, but they didn't have the dogs that we was used to, right? And LSU was able to win. And then you have this year, right? LSU now, although LSU already had 2 losses going into the Alabama game, coming away of Florida State and also coming versus Ole Miss. Uh, you know, Before Dallas Turner hit Jaden Daniels with what I still call a dirty hit, Alabama was getting destroyed by Jaden Daniels in that offense, right? And so obviously Jaden Daniels got knocked out with a concussion, and Nussmeier just wasn't able to, close the distance, and we lost. But if LSU would have beat Alabama, um, you know, there there possibly could have been a shot where, LSU could have possibly went to the SEC championship game out of the West and face Georgia for a second year in a row and possibly beat Georgia and get to uh, a playoff, right? But now with Alabama, having to take a step back, right? Because it's not going to be a seamless transition, right? Now, I took one peek on social media to see who they would think, well, to see some of the names that's been thrown out, right? And some of the names I've seen in no particular order, so don't fry me for this, right? I saw Coach Prime, I saw Dan Lanning at Oregon, I seen Steve Sarkisian, the head coach for Texas, I saw Lane Kiffin, right? That's some of the names I saw. Okay, don't Don't come in here and kill me because I'm telling you the names I saw, right? I know a lot of the teams like Oregon, um, Colorado, Texas are gonna be like, oh man, wow, wow, wow. But I'm just telling you the names I saw. I can't tell you, right? I just saw this is what I saw. You do the Google search, you can see it for yourself. I also saw Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer is not currently coaching, but I also saw his name being thrown out there. So that's just some of the names I saw. But it doesn't matter, right? Now, Alabama is probably one of the most attractive uh, sports head coaching positions in all of sports, right? I would say um, Alabama in college and maybe the Cowboys in the NFL, right? But as a whole, it's one of the best head coaching spots in football, right? Pros and in college. And whatever coach comes in there, right? Um, it's going to be a new year, right? The players are going to have to get used to that coach, right? It's going to be a different regimen, right? That coach is going to want to come in and implement what he knows and what he believes will work at Alabama, right? So you expect the team to take a step back, right? And that's just a prime opportunity for LSU to, take a hold of that and you know get to the SEC championship and uh get a spot in the playoffs, right? Now the playoffs are going to be a 12-team playoff this year. But you know, think about who's in the SEC West, right? So LSU finished third in the SEC West this year, right? Who finished first in the SEC West? Um, Ole Miss, no, Alabama, Ole Miss, and LSU, right? So those are the top dogs in the SEC West. Well, with Nick Saban retiring, I would like to think, like I said, the Alabama team will take a step back, right? If not, if it, I would say, the most that they would take a step back would be probably for the 2024 season, next year, the next season that's coming up. Um, Now, it is being reported that because Nick Saban is retiring, the Alabama players get a additional 30 days to be able to transfer out, right? So they get an opportunity because they probably, if players committed there, um, wanting to play for Nick Saban and now he's retiring, those guys get an opportunity to go elsewhere, right? Now, a lot of them are probably going to be watching to see who's going to be the next head coach, but you can expect to see some guys transfer out. Uh, and, as they should be allowed to, because they probably, like I said, they probably was coming there from Nick Saban and Nick Saban is retiring, so they should be allowed to transfer out. But, this gives them a great opportunity for, Brian Kelly. And it also, maybe some of those players on that Alabama team might transfer into LSU, right? But this is a great opportunity for Brian Kelly, but it puts a lot of pressure on Brian Kelly because if he's not able to, win the SEC West this season, right? Then, it's going to be a lot of, you know, people scratching their heads like, what the hell, right now? Don't get me wrong. Ole Miss has loaded up. Ole Miss is probably going to whoop a lot of teams' ass this year, right? Because they had, and they currently have one of the best. I think they got the number one transfer portal roster, right? They got the number one transfer uh, class, right? They got a few studs from high school, but their bang for their buck is from the transfer portal and also with some of the guys that's coming back. Now their running back, Junkins, right? He transferred out to Ohio State, but they still got Jackson Dart. They still got some studs that's returning on the wide receiver side. They got one of the best wide receivers in college football that came in from South Carolina to play for them, right? And they got a lot of studs on the defensive side of the ball. So Ole Miss is loading up to um, whoop everybody ass in the SEC, especially in the SEC West, and LSU has to play them. Now, like I said, if LSU can navigate Ole Miss and beat Ole Miss and not lose any focus when it comes to teams like Florida and Texas A&M, you know, we should be able to get to the SEC championship, right, out of the West. Um, but I'm gonna say the asterisk is gonna be the Ole Miss game, the Texas A&M game, and Oklahoma game, right? Because LSU plays Oklahoma this year, not Texas, right? So as this is going to be Oklahoma's first year in the SEC, and we have to see how that works out. But This puts a lot. I can't stress how much pressure this puts on LSU. Just think about all of the years that LSU has won national championships and are made deep runs is because Alabama was down. Now Brian Kelly already has a lot of pressure on him, right? Because he has two new hires, right? He fired the defensive coordinator, hired Blake Baker, and then today they announced the defensive coordinator. I mean the new defensive line coach, Bo Davis, is going to be the new defensive line coach, right? Now you have to think Trey Wingo put his name in for the NFL draft. Mason Smith put his name in, right? Which I don't think Mason Smith should put his name in. I think he's going to be a bust. I think he screwed himself out of money, but that's going to be a separate episode, right? We're also going to be talking, we're doing it. I'm going to be doing a separate episode about Bo Davis and Blake. Uh, oh my God, the, Blake Baker, the new defensive coordinator, right? I lost my train of thought, but so got some guys that transferred out to the pros. So you got to wonder who's going to play on that defensive line for LSU. But barring that, right, this is a great opportunity for LSU. That's all I'm saying. It's a great opportunity for LSU this incoming season and for a lot of seasons to come because that next head coach may not be that next head coach will not be Nick Saban. There's not going to be another Nick Saban for a long time. I'm 37 years old. I'm probably going to be in my 80s. Uh, by the time we see another dominant coach in college football like Nick Saban was, right? So this is a prime opportunity for LSU to establish themselves as that big dog in the SEC West, right? And so um, the pressure that's already on Brian Kelly going into season year 3 just got even heavier, even more pressure because Nick Saban is retiring. And this puts a lot of pressure on a lot of teams in the SEC, right? In the East and the West, because when you get to that conference championship out of the East, right? You're normally facing Alabama. And then if you get out of it in the West, you're facing Georgia or whoever. But so it puts a lot of pressure on teams in the SEC and in general teams in college football, right? Because some fan bases are probably really really nervous right now, thinking, okay, oh God, our coach is probably going to leave for the Alabama job because the Alabama job right now is the best job in college football, and it's open. And so, a lot of fans are probably nervous as hell. Also, you know, Alabama and Nick Saban have whooped a lot of uh, teams' ass, right? Clemson, uh, Georgia in the national championship, uh, LSU in the national championship, Ohio State, right? And the list goes on and on, right? The man has 7 national championships, uh, 6 with Alabama, right? So he's whooped a lot of teams' ass. So a lot of people are probably like, damn, that's one less team we got to worry about to have to play in the playoffs and in the national championship. Because honestly, if I had to pick a team to play in a national championship out of the last winners, like the winners outside of Alabama, I wouldn't want to pick Alabama, right? I wouldn't want to pick Alabama. I'll play Georgia. I'll play Michigan. I wouldn't want to pick Alabama. But yeah, so pressures on Brian Kelly and his LSU team, right? I'll probably do another episode, talking a little bit more about this pressure. But yes, the pressure is on. Just think about it. I know some of y'all are gonna be like, "Oh no, it's no pressure. It's no pressure." All I'm gonna say is, if that's what you're saying, you're delusional because um, you know, say if LSU is having a great year and they lose to Alabama, you can hang your hat on that and say, you know what, it's Alabama. Alabama is a tough team. It's Nick Saban, right? He's the GOAT, right? So you can kind of hang your hat on that. Lose to Alabama, go whoop on Texas A&M or whatever. But now that he's stepping aside, those excuses just got a little bit smaller. All right, so thank y'all. Thank y'all. I just want to say thank y'all from subscribing to the channel, right? I think in the last 28 days, I got 71 new subscribers. The views are through the roof. Wouldn't be able to do this without y'all. We are now over 300 subscribers. I think I'm at 310, right? The goal was 300, right? So the goal now is 500 before the summer. So don't forget to leave a comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification button. Definitely leave a like because when you leave a like, right? It helps the video get found by the YouTube, the YouTube algorithm or whatever, right? So the goal for this video is, can we do 40 likes, 50 likes? That's the goal for this video, 50 likes, right? Let's do 50 likes on this video. All right. Until next time, I'm out. And of course, let me know what you think about Nick Saban retiring in the comment section below. Let me know. Let me know. All right. Until next time, I'm out.